Hi everyone, it's Julie from Sprouts and Stems here, coming to you from behind the camera. I'm here. Hi. I'm still getting over a cold that I've had for like a week now. That change in temperature, that like drastic temperature drop that we had last week really messed with me. So I'm sure I definitely sound a little weird. I'm not going to be on camera today, I'm sorry, but it's still going to be a great video. So today's video is how to propagate philodendron. Please be sure to like this video and subscribe. I do a lot of plant care and propagation videos, and I also do a lot of plant DIY decor projects. I really like doing things like that. I have a few ideas in the works that will be coming probably within the next few weeks. I have to get some supplies, so if you like projects with a mix of care and propagation, subscribe to my channel. And okay, let's get started. So for today's philodendron propagation example, I have this beautiful philodendron Brazil here. I'll just take a second to show it off before we get into the tutorial, but look at this little section right here. I mean, it's all beautiful, but like this particular section is standing out to me. I just love this plant. Like, does it not look hand painted to you? It's so pretty. I love it. And really, really easy to care for and propagate. Now, whenever I do propagation tutorials, I always like to start with a little refresher about nodes and the node situation, because I know that can be a little bit confusing. And it is definitely something that used to confuse me a lot. So, nodes. Okay, this is nodes 101. Nodes are where new growth comes from. So, that could mean roots. That can mean new leaves. That can mean aerial roots. Bottom line, nodes are where new growth comes from. That means, here, let me find you an example so I can actually show you while I'm talking. So, this is a node right here. New leaves are coming out of it, aerial roots are coming out of it. When we propagate plants, the goal is to grow new roots, right? So that means a node must be included on the part we cut off. So when people say cut below the node, I know like that part is like really confusing. And like I said, it used to confuse me so much. Like, what does that mean, cut below a node? It means hold the, this one's a little twisted. Hold the vine up so it's like facing up. And you're going to cut below right there. Sorry, a little bit tricky of a position, but right where my pinky finger is, you're cutting below the node. And that means the node will be on this part that you cut off. Now, this isn't a pruning video. I won't be doing any pruning, but just to like help you understand the difference, when we prune plants, that means we want to like cut different areas off to make the plant bushier. When we make the plant bushier, what do we want? We want new growth on the plant, right? So that means instead of cutting below a node, where was it? I lost the one that I was talking about. That's fine. Bear with me. Okay, so I had to pick you up for a second just to show you this part. So I'm sorry if it's a little shaky, but okay, so here's a good example. So when we want to propagate, we cut below. This is the node. See, there's new growth coming out of it. Cut below it. When we prune, we want new growth to grow on the plant. So we would cut above the node. You would cut off either this one right here or this one right here, and that will trigger this node to sprout new growth. So I know it's a little bit tricky to understand, but if you just remember that new growth comes from the nodes, and Remember, your goal for propagating is to have new growth on the cutting so it can grow roots and turn into a whole new plant. Propagate, cut below. Pruning, cut above. So now what I'm going to do is identify just like a healthy, mature section that has a pretty good chance of growing roots. Oh my gosh, look at this little leaf. Oh my gosh, guys. Are you kidding? Look at that. That's like the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay, focus, Julie, focus. So when you're propagating, it's always good to take like a few cuttings if you can, just because propagation success is never guaranteed, so don't feel bad if it doesn't work. But I already have like a bunch of other cuttings propagating around my apartment. I'm just going to take one today. This section is really old and like big. I've always avoided taking, it's like the one random like huge part of this plant. I've always avoided taking cuttings from it because it's just like amazing. Let's see. Here, this section is also really pretty. I probably should have figured this out before I started the video. I know this is a philodendron Brazil, and that's what we love about it. It's beautiful variegation, but there are some reverted sections back here because this is the part that I have is the back of the plant that kind of just like sits against the wall. It doesn't really get any light. So I think I'm just going to take something from this section because I'm not really attached to this section. So I'm going to cut this node, going to cut right here. And then I may cut this section into a few smaller pieces, but I'm just going to cut it off the plant right here. Here. Remember, we're propagating. We want new roots to grow here. So we are cutting like a quarter to half inch or so. It doesn't have to be exact. Just don't make it like here. Right. Snip. Pretty. And then actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to, so I can try to trigger some new growth on the plant at this node, I'm going to just cut this long random piece off. There. So hopefully we'll get some new growth coming out of that node. And then we have this beautiful cutting right here. Now I wanted to take you around my apartment and just show you some, that's where the plant normally is, show you some examples of philodendrons I have propagating in different kinds of media. Is that the word? I don't think it's mediums, right? I think it's media. So I'm just going to do this one in water, the one that I just cut, because vining plants like philodendron, pothos, they're so easy to be propagated in just about anything. Like they'll grow anywhere, just about anywhere. So for me right now, water propagation is easiest, but for examples, some water propagation going on there. This is a cool thing I did a few months ago. There's water inside that, and there's a nice big aerial root that actually attached itself onto this terracotta. Isn't that cool right there? But yeah, there's water inside there. This is a mini terrarium, but it's essentially like also a propagation station that's just sphagnum moss, like a potting mix, sphagnum moss mixture. And this is a philodendron micans, by the way, but it's like the same concept. And then let's see some other things propagating. Philodendron micans. Is there a Brazil? Yeah, there is a Brazil in there too. This is just sphagnum moss and perlite It's mostly sphagnum moss though. And then, oh, this is, I'm pretty sure I just did this in my most recent video. I just took cuttings that I had propagating already and did this little hanging decor thing, and that's just sphagnum moss. The only thing that's different, like between water and other like dry, like not water, I guess, is you just want to make sure whatever medium you're using stays moist. Doesn't have to be soaking wet, just like moist. That's the only thing. Damp. You know, moist is kind of like a weird word. I don't usually add much water to this, but that's because it's closed, so it always stays relatively damp in there. So yeah, that's the only difference if you're not using water propagation. Okay, so I've got my beautiful cutting right here. I think I'll just cut it into two cuttings, nothing too crazy. So we want to do the same thing. We want to cut close to a node, and I think I'm going to do this node right here. So cut right below it. And then just going to cut off that excess right here, and then maybe we'll get some new growth coming from here. We'll see. All right, so I just removed the bottom leaf just so we didn't have like the leaf sitting in the water. And I'm just going to do the same thing to this one. Come on. There we go. Just because like a leaf sitting in water, it's just going to like rot and it's not going to do anything. Okay, I have this beautiful little crystal vase. Feels so fancy when I say that, a vase. Normally I say vase, but like that does not sound nice, so vase. And yeah, I just filled it up with water. Might need a little more, but put the cuttings in the water. Make sure the node, if you can have more than one node underwater, that's cool too, because more opportunity to grow roots, but make sure at least that node is underwater. And also, another reason why you want to take more than one cutting if possible, not just because it gives you more chances for it to actually work, but also if your goal is to create a whole new plant, you can't really do that with just one vine. If you grow roots on one vine and then you put it in a pot as like a little plant, it's not just gonna, like, new vines aren't just gonna miraculously come up out of the soil, you know. It's just stuff is going to grow on that vine, but it's still just going to be like one vine. So if your goal is to create a whole new little plant, definitely take a few cuttings. And sometimes it can be a little bit tricky to get things to hang out in there, but just work with the leaves. So you just want to put your cuttings in bright indirect light. And probably within the next week or so, maybe a little longer, you'll see like little teeny tiny roots starting to sprout from the ends. And yeah, you can leave them in water, just like I've done for this little guy. I just think it's a cool look. Or when the roots get like 2 to 3 inches long, you can transplant them into soil and have yourself your own little plant, your own new little plant. Just make sure to keep the water level up to like where it should be, because obviously it'll like evaporate over time. And remember, if you're using potting mix or sphagnum moss, something that's not water, you'll just have to make sure that stays damp, not sopping wet, but damp. So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry if I sounded a little bit weird. Hopefully I'll be back to my normal self on camera in my next video. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. It would mean a lot to me. And thanks so much for watching, everyone, and have a great day.